Well, as you know, I've been up in my style game and giving my closet a makeover thanks to Peter Millar. And it's been so easy since they're all about quality, value, and style. And speaking of easy, Peter Millar is easily the most comfortable clothing you'll ever wear. Peter Millar polo shirts offer so much comfort and style. They're so easy to take care of. Out of the dryer, and you don't have to put an iron on them. They are great for the golf course because they even have sun protection built into the shirt. Peter Millar sport shirts look like a button-down dress shirt but feel as comfortable as a t-shirt. And they don't need to be dry cleaned. They're machine wash and dry. They won't shrink, and you don't have to iron them. Peter Millar 5-pocket pants are lightweight, highly breathable, made from the highest quality Pima cotton, and have comfort stretch for ease of movement. They'll fit like your favorite jeans with the style to be worn anywhere. They have Peter Millar's exclusive wash and finish to enhance the softness. Peter Millar performance shorts are moisture-wicking, breathable, and quick-drying. They have a stretch waistband so they move with you. That makes them perfect for playing around a golf, taking care of chores around the house, really anything you'll be doing this weekend. You'll never have to worry about what to wear to any occasion. Peter Millar is the go-to clothing for vacation, work events, the golf course, and even working out. Put Peter Millar on in the morning and never look back. You'll always have the right look. Check him out on social media at Peter Millar and at Peter Millar Golf. Peter Millar is the most comfortable clothing I've ever worn. And right now you can head over to petermillar.com/wingo and check out some of my Peter Millar favorites. Be sure to use my link and you'll receive complimentary shipping and a free hat. That's Peter Millar, MILLAR.com/wingo. petermillar.com/wingo.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered right to the beach, the quad, or the dog park. Not at home? Not a problem. Find a Domino's hotspot near you and get 2 medium 2-topping pizzas delivered for $5.99 each. 2-item minimum. Handmade pan pizzas will be extra. Ask for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary. Restrictions apply. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's hotspots.
Hey, glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, live from the Tundra Trio in Green Bay, right outside Lambeau Field. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Junior has left us.
Yeah, he has left us. He had to make a drive. He's calling the Northern Illinois-Utah game tomorrow, so they have coaches' meetings and such. So he's doing a little double dipping, work half the show here, and half the show. These millennials, half the show and wants to get his full
and
pay.
the full paycheck.
Like he's got anything to do. He's got to drive a few hours and then call a game. But so I guess we'll give that to him. But I love being here. I love the dedication to the fans. You people are fantastic. We even have a dad and son, Aiden, over there, 11-year-old, 8-hour ride.
From Iowa.
That they came into town.
Nice
How
job.
awesome is that? Good job out of them. So Aiden obviously missing school today. Yeah. He's going the Golic and Wingo education today, which, of course.
Aiden, you are so much smarter because of this experience. I want you to know. Your dad is the dad of the year. I want you to know that right now.
He said he's in 6th grade. I said, what kind of math are you doing? He said calculus.
There you go. Really?
No, he's not. I'm kidding.
It's my understanding there would be no math. You know how that goes. I have a long-standing philosophy. So when it comes to math, I'm willing to believe everything. By the way, it was great. I think the best part about being here and the fans is we got to see you make out with your son before he left.
I didn't make out. I gave him a
big,
hug
giant
before
hug
he
and
left.
a kiss.
Yeah, it's
big,
my
giant
son,
hug and a kiss. Good for you.
He's got to drive safe.
And you said drive safe, which I really liked.
He's going to work.
So we got lots to get into and lots to talk about. So let's start, as we always do, with what's trending.
Important.
And Tiger Woods is about to tee off in 3 minutes, so you're carrying the show for yourself after that.
Oh, my gosh. Here we go.
Because I'm locked in, baby. He shot a 29 over his first 9 holes yesterday, finished with a course record-tying 8 under par 62 at the BMW Championship, the third of the 4 FedEx Cup playoff events. The 62 is Woods' lowest round of the year, beating the 64 he shot in the final round of the PGA Championship last month at Bellerive.
I mean, listen, we've all been talking about Tiger Woods and what he's been doing this year, coming back, getting close to some wins, but it never started out with a great first round. Now, let's see how he can finish it up. In the last, obviously, 3 more days of this. But it started out well. Him and Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, who was trying to get that last spot on the Ryder Cup, was 1 back to start the day. He's already through 4 and 1 under for the day, so he's also at 8 under. But for Tiger Woods, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
He doesn't play well early. He plays well late. Now you think he's going to play well late, and he started great, so I'm sure everybody's going, wow, he's going to be unbelievable. But we don't know. We don't know. All of a sudden on Saturday he could miss every fairway. I mean, you don't know. He keeps feeling like his game is getting pieced back together. very well, but it's not at that consistent level, but he's only been back this year,
right.
X amount of tournaments after that fourth back surgery. So we just wait and see. We know he's on the Ryder Cup, so there's a little bit of that exhale there as far as that's all officially taken care of, and see where we can go here. Again, we're at 70 players, getting it down after this one to 30 before the last FedEx tournament.
Well, that's critical because I think he came in at 25th.
Yeah.
And so he needed to make sure he secured his spot in the final 30. Starting with an 8 under 62.
That's a good way to do it.
We'll do that for you. But again, the most important thing about Tiger in this go-round is that the old Scotty Cameron putter is back in his bag. And why he ever went away from it, I have no idea. Because 13 of his 14 majors have been won with that putter. And if you watch the way he played with it and listen to the way he talked about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a relationship that Tiger has with his putter. Here's Tiger talking about having that Scotty Cameron putter back in his hands.
Been monkeying around with it at home and in the backyard throughout the summer. Just never felt right, but it feels good. I know. I was explaining to Robert over there. I know the release point, and I know how it swings, and my body morphs into a position where it understands where it needs to be to release the putter. And because I've hit hundreds of millions of putts with that damn thing, and I've had it since '99, so I've hit so many putts with it. My body just remembers it. And when I go away from it, even when I was using the Nike putter, I'd always bring it out and hit putts with it. And sometimes it works, but it just feels very familiar to me.
Again, I'm a little uncomfortable with that, and again,
his body morphing to the release point.
That was the reason he left it when he has the Nike deal and he went with the Nike equipment. He said he used the Nike putter. He was being faithful to the brand that's paying him an awful lot of money, and it just wasn't working as well for him. So now he's back in his comfort zone.
Yeah, again, and we'll find out. He tees off. He's just about to tee off right now. Back in
8:06, he tees off.
8:06 Eastern time. So he's into that. We'll see how that plays out. Again, he's playing with Ricky Fowler and Jordan Spieth. He is on the tee right now at Aronimink now.
Wait do you see Trey do a show while Tiger Woods is golfing live?
I'm sorry. Are you saying something? I'm watching Tiger
exactly
play.
Right,
so, hey, you want to finish this up?
Yeah,
no. We're just continuing with what's trending. And Steelers running back James Conner says there's really no pressure on him as Le'Veon Bell is not there and he's going to be the starting quarterback. The second-year running back says no pressure on me. There's a lot of people waiting to see how my performance is going to be. As long as we win, I'm cool. And that's really the perfect answer for him.
It is a perfect answer. Understand what this guy's gone through.
Yeah.
This guy beat cancer while he was in college. I mean, we're going to talk about the pressure of running a football. I mean, my son Mike and I got to talk to him at length in his last bowl game when Pitt played against Northwestern a couple of years ago. And just to sit down with him, in perspective he had of the whole thing, what an incredible young man he is. So he's one that can really put it all in perspective of, okay, I'm playing running back. Yes, it's big. I'm starting. I'm going to be relied on. But listen, what he went through, that was a life-altering and life-changing situation as opposed to being the starting running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah. Again, and that's all. Look, that's all a wonderful story, and it's great for him. But you know how fans are in the NFL. Yeah, but can you help my team?
Fans will be that way, but as he said, he understands the expectations, but he knows what to expect of himself in that backfield.
Exactly. So, again, they get it going Sunday in Cleveland, and I'm telling you, Cleveland's a real football team now. I don't think they're going to win 8 to 10 games like some people do, but they're a real football team. They will win multiple games this year.
We want to think that. Let's see if it comes to fruition.
One in the last 2 years. Yeah. And then we have the other maybe marquee matchup as we finish up what's trending on Sunday. It is the Jaguars and Giants, and you can say whatever you want, and they're both trying to downplay this thing, but everybody's eyes are going to be on the match because it's always the matchups within the matchup, Mike, that determine the game. And you have Jalen Ramsey against Odell Beckham Jr. It doesn't get much better.
You're looking forward to it, and they're both now saying the right things. Of first, Odell talking about when he and Josh Norman went at it a couple of years ago. I took the cheese. I can't do that anymore. Jalen Ramsey talking about the fact it's not about us, it's about the team. But it's going to be more about this because it might have to be quicker passes to Odell Beckham because of that pressure on that D-line. And we still don't know how this revamped offensive line is going to function in the regular season. A whole new left side with Will Hernandez, the draft choice at guard, and Nate Solder, the free agent, at left tackle. So how do they all work together? How's that right side going to work together? together with Eric Flowers going over there to right tackle from the protection standpoint? And then how much can the running game be able to help that? Because if they get a running game with Saquon Barkley and that O-line, and they're able to play action pass and freeze those linebackers and slow up that rush, then you really look at that matchup and you go, okay, there's advantage to Odell. The longer Eli can hold on to the ball, the tougher it is for a defender to stay to coverage on a receiver.
Yeah, and people always say the solution to a bad left tackle is to move him over to right tackle. It's what they've done with Eric Flowers. Yeah. Well, this might be the worst defensive line to try and mask that problem.
Yeah.
Because you have Yannick Ngakoue, you have Calais Campbell, you have Malik Jackson. They just drafted Taven Bryant, the Wyoming Wildman.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about a front seven that is loaded for bear? We'll find out really quickly just if putting Eric Flowers at right tackle is any better at left tackle, and if that rebuilt left side of that line is any good at all.
And one of the important things that you need to watch and people forget about, you have a rookie running back in there picking up the blitz.
Yeah.
Rookie running backs in blocking. Saquon, you want him to run the ball well, catch the ball in the backfield, but if he's going to be on the field, at times he's going to be asked to pick up the blitz. So that is very, very important for him to be able to step up and be able to do that.
Yeah, look, that's what made Zeke Elliott really successful his rookie year with the Dallas Cowboys, and they're going to need Saquon to do that as well. But again, most eyes will go on the Odell Beckham-Jalen Ramsey matchup, and Ramsey was asked about that matchup and tried to downplay it. And let's be clear, that's really not something that Jalen Ramsey does.
A lot of people going to try to make it about me and him specifically. That's not what it's about. Football's a team game. It's going to be 11 guys out there for us, 11 guys out there for them. So we're going to have to come together and do what we got to do to try to get a win. I'm going to try to do my part.
It is 11 individual matchups a lot of times, but you understand that this one's obviously elevated because of the two star power of you and him, right?
To y'all, it is.
Everybody.
Well, not to me. I think it's a team game. It's 11 versus 11. It's not me versus him all game. I'll be on my fair amount, but I'm sure other guys will be on them as well.
One of the rare sound bites we play made the all cliche team for Jalen Ramsey, huh?
I'm almost uncomfortable with how out of him being him that was.
It really was.
It does speak to the fact that they are boys. I mean, they worked out together this offseason. In fact, as they were working out this offseason, Odell was sort of joking around saying, well, what if I ran this against you and what if I did this? And Jalen was saying what he would do. And then they looked at the schedule. We're playing each other week one. Maybe we shouldn't have had some of those conversations.
As a player and as a teammate, I like this Jalen talk. Yes. As a talk show host, I like the other.
Yeah, Jalen, don't be a shrinking flower. Don't be a shrinking violet. What are you doing? Be who you are. But I think it does speak to the respect that he has for Odell Beckham Jr. as a talent, and we'll find out if that plays out Sunday at MetLife. All right, we once again are out here at the Tundra Trio as we're getting set for a full Sunday of Week 1 of the NFL's regular season, which will cap off here with the Bears and Packers Sunday night. Golic and Wingo is presented by 1-800-Flowers.com. Nothing makes up for your football obsession like a surprise from 1-800-Flowers.com. To order a dozen multicolored roses plus an extra bouquet in a vase for just $29.99, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. So, Mike, as we were playing that soundbite with Jalen Ramsey, it was pretty clear, as we said, the respect he has for Odell Beckham Jr. I think it's also pretty clear after the season opener there is a precious lack of respect for the Falcons' ability to score in the red zone. I mean, field goals occasionally, but boy, what we saw last year continues to be a problem for what is supposedly a high-power offense.
So what happens certainly from the coaching staff standpoint, and then they talk about that and they formulate a plan, and it comes down to the players when you start to meet in the offseason, is it's not so much you look at the great things that you did or the good things you did the year before that you want to continue doing, is make your this is true in everything, make your weakness your strength. So you look at what your weaknesses were and you figure out how do we make them our strengths. And one of the worst things that can happen is that you have a weakness when you ended the season and you start the next season and it's the same weakness. That's an issue. And one is a philosophy and the other is an execution.
Right.
The execution is what's happening in the red zone. First drive of the game, they get in the red zone and they go for it on fourth down. I didn't have a problem with it. You did, irregardless of the fact that we disagree, is they couldn't get in the end zone. They couldn't score from the red zone. Great. And you give Philly all the credit in the world for what they did defensively, but you get that many cracks in the red zone, they couldn't get in. And then the last drive of the game, they're back in the red zone. They have a chance to win it. They do get a Julio Jones catches the ball, but the pass was a little too far, and he came down out of the end zone. So the game ends not in the end zone again. This is, again, Matt Ryan last year, 1 of 18 with Julio Jones with throws in the end zone.
That's amazing.
And they start out 0 for 2 this year. Though not as amazing as you would think. How about this? In 2012, Matthew Stafford was 1 of 14 targeting Calvin Johnson in the end zone. 2011, Ben Roethlisberger 0 for his first 13 targeting Antonio Brown. And in 2009, Matthew Stafford was 1 for 12 targeting Calvin Johnson in the end zone. So I guess not as rare as we think, but still a problem getting the ball in the end zone. And at least in that first drive, they did try to run it some and didn't get in. The second part is the philosophical part. The second year now, Steve Sarkisian running the offense, and the split between run and pass in a one-possession game, a game where you had the lead a couple of times, not a runaway either way, and you give the numbers again of the run and pass. I don't understand that. I mean, you held the ball for 5 minutes less than your opponent. You're not running the ball, and then your throws, you throw almost half your targets are to one guy in Julio Jones.
By the way, Calvin Ridley didn't have a catch in that game.
No, he did not.
I mean, he was non-existent. That's your number one draft pick. Again, you mentioned the run-pass ratio. We talked about it, but here's the way I look. I never look at like pass attempts versus rush attempts to really break down the play calling, because sacks are a pass attempt. Okay, so yeah, he dropped back 40. He threw 43 passes, but he also tried to throw 4 more and was sacked. So that's really 47 pass plays called. And then there were 18 running attempts, but one of those was a quarterback run on a scramble, so that was a pass play as well. So what it really is, that makes it 48 pass attempts, and then only 17 rush attempts. So in a one-possession game, you had 31 more pass attempts than you did rushing attempts. In a one-possession game with a good running game, that makes no sense whatsoever. And that creates the problems, by the way, Mike, in the red zone. And Dan Quinn basically said after the game, their red zone efficiency, if you could describe it, it would be the poop emoji.
The poop emoji.
Play the sound, Cliff.
17's over. This is 18, and that's part of our game that we've got to get right if we're going to be really good led. Our ability to, score down there, that has to change. And we weren't able to do that tonight. So we'll give credit to them. We knew coming in this was going to be a good matchup defensively, offensively, and all the different areas. But that part of our game, clearly tonight, we didn't execute at the level we'd like, and we've got work to do.
So we will talk about that side of it like we are, but we have to keep remembering, give credit to the Eagles defense and what they were able to do, whether it was in the secondary and coverage or pressure on the quarterback and stopping the run on the line.
Yeah, so the Falcons' red zones clearly are what everybody's talking about right now, brought to you by Capital One. What's in your wallet? So, okay, put yourself in that locker room. You know the problems. If you're Dan Quinn and Steve Sarkisian, how do you fix it?
Well, I mean, I think
what do you say?
One thing Dan Quinn, when he meets with his offensive coaches, especially Sarkisian, you can talk about, why such a disparity in the run-pass ratio. I can tell you right now, the offensive line doesn't like. The offensive line would much rather run. Offensive linemen, listen, they understand it. I joke around about this, but from an athletic ability standpoint, they're not the athletes the defensive linemen are. That's just the way it is. So what's a great way to neutralize that? Not let them just tee off. Not let them just get in a pass rushing stance and go. And when most of your third downs are 7+, that's exactly what the defensive line can do. If you put yourself in a position, I think, with a better run-pass ratio, now you don't have that D-line teeing off as much.
Right.
If you have not so much sometimes it's not the yards, but the rushing attempts,
correct,
as well. That can help your offensive line.
Make the defense defend it.
It's exactly right.
Yeah.
They're just teeing off. So I really think there needs to be a conversation there of, A, why aren't we doing that more, and what can we do to do that more in the right way of our game plan? That'll really, in my opinion, help the offensive line. Again, Matt Ryan was sacked 4 times, but the guys are just on the D-line are just teeing off because of the long third down situations.
And what do we always say? It's okay to make a mistake, but you don't want to make the same mistake. Well, just go back. Listen, and this is going to kill some Falcon fans. Just go back to Super Bowl 51, man. It's 28-12 with 7.5 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. You have a 16-point lead. You have a 3rd and 1 from your own 20-something yard line. A first down essentially ends the game. Or a punt and the time that runs off will essentially end the game. On a 3rd and 1, they choose a 7-step drop. A block is missed. Dante Hightower comes up with a huge play, strip sack, force fumble, gets the ball, and that starts the whole ball rolling. Their inability to run the ball in certain situations has cost them a Super Bowl championship. Right. It cost them problems last year, and I think it cost them big problems this year. They're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and they're having the same results.
Yeah, listen, and they know it, and nobody knows it more than them. Yeah. So, again, one's a philosophical thing that the head coach can talk with the offensive coordinator about. The other is just flat-out execution in the red zone. Yep. They're just not getting it done, and that's just going to take – they know the plays they want to run. I mean, they see them. They've executed them before, but they're not executing them right now.
Yep, they aren't. And meanwhile, speaking of execution, there was another play last night. It wasn't the Philly special, but it was very similar. Philly, a pass to the quarterback Nick Foles, and Foles was asked about the momentum that play gave them from the offensive side for Philadelphia.
You know, in games like this, Atlanta's a tremendous team. Their defense did an amazing job tonight, mixing up the coverage. They did a really good job in their man coverage tonight. But like in the game right there where it's 3rd down, you need a big conversion, but you also want to get some momentum going. So we knew that we could probably get them in man coverage at that time. So they don't really account for me, and they dropped me, gave me a little bit of time. Nelly got on the edge and made a great throw. But yeah, I think that was just a huge momentum boost for us during the game.
That's where, understand what he said and what goes into that.
Yep.
The situation he said, we believe we were going to get man coverage. That goes into game planning. That goes into film study. That goes into formation of what you normally see. So now you put yourself in a position, instead of this big picture of what can happen, you narrow everything down. We think we're going to get man coverage. Man coverage, you don't account for the quarterback coming out, hence wide open.
Right.
So a big play. So all that preparation can come down to, as we've talked about, 5 or 6 big plays when you can narrow the field down of what you think the other team is going to do based on all your information that sets you up for a play like this.
And by the way, offensive tackle, right tackle for the Eagles, Lane Johnson, never change. He has gone in hard on the Patriots before the Super Bowl, after the Super Bowl, and said of the Philly play, not the Philly special, but the Philly play last night, he said basically it was the same play that the Patriots ran in the Super Bowl. You know, the one Tom dropped.
Yeah.
In other words,
he's just going to get his shots
Our guy caught it, and your guy didn't. Lane, keep doing you, baby,
absolutely.
Because we enjoy it.
It's time to join the millions of people that meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Zoom gives you flawless video, crystal clear audio, and instant sharing across any mobile, tablet, or desktop device. But the best thing about Zoom? It just works. So ditch the distractions, join the movement, and meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Visit Zoom.us to set up your free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing. Technology powers your business, and technology changes. But chances are you're still using video conferencing that was wow 10 years ago, but feels more like whoa today. Ditch the choppy video and crappy audio and get back to wow with Zoom. It's the easiest, most reliable video collaboration suite, and it costs about 1/3 of what you're probably paying now. Wow, not whoa. Visit Zoom.us to set up a free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered right to the beach, the quad, or the dog park. Not at home? Not a problem. Find a Domino's hotspot near you and get 2 medium 2-topping pizzas delivered for $5.99 each. 2-item minimum. Handmade pan pizzas will be extra asked for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary. Restrictions apply. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's hotspots.
Yeah, buddy. Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Live from the Tundra Trio here in Green Bay, just outside Lambeau Field. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And then there's guys that join us on the set, like former Packer Super Bowl champion Mark Tauscher is here with us. Of course, you know him as the Packers Walter Payton Man of the Year 2008. You also going to hear him as part of the Wilde and Tausch Show in Wisconsin on 540 ESPN. How are you, my friend?
I'm well. I'm glad you didn't butcher Jason's name. He always gets upset when anything national and it's Wild.
No, it's Wilde.
Yeah, so we appreciate that.
So he doesn't like when his name gets butchered? How is Wild doing?
Wild is doing okay. He, I asked him, he lives in Green Bay. He said he'll catch it on TV.
There you go.
There you go.
Thanks, Jason.
I look at you, Mark, in your career, both college and the NFL, as incredibly fortunate from a fan support from Wisconsin, which is ridiculous, and I want to get into a little bit with you, and then your career here with the Packers. I mean, you've never had it been in a situation where there was fan apathy, that's for sure.
No, that's one of the big pluses, obviously, being able to play at Wisconsin. You grow up here, I'm rooting for the team, the 80s, not so good.
Right.
Brett Favre comes into town, and next thing you know,
everything's
we've
good.
We've been at or near the top the entire time. So to be able to play at Wisconsin and then also come up here, have the fan support, have family and friends be able to come to the game, it's been a dream come true.
All right. Speaking of Wisconsin, your buddy in college claims to have started the jump around tradition. What's going on there?
That is true.
That is true.
Right,
yes.
Give us the whole enchilada.
Right, this is one of the for people that don't know one of the great things in sports to watch the student body to Wisconsin game when the song "Jump Around" comes. I mean, that whole stadium is moving.
Camp Randall is moving, baby.
Yes, and there is people have tried to replicate it. It doesn't happen. Matter of fact, we played LSU up here probably 2 or 3 years ago. It's just not the same because there's not the shaking of the stadium. But yes, we had 3 football players, Eric Weisen and Ryan Sondrup and Eric Grams, a couple of Fond du Lac guys, and they said, we need to do something to spruce things up. And next thing you know, they start doing it, and it just takes fire from there. And it now is probably the best tradition.
Did they start doing it in the stadium at first or somewhere else?
So it was through the marketing department, and they said, all right, let's get this song going. And it just kind of started like a grassroots operation. Next thing you know, here it is.
I was going to say, because the first time it was done, how drunk were they? I mean, let's be honest.
Probably, my guess, they probably had a couple Tito's.
There you go.
Yeah, on the scale of 1 to 10, they were at 7 Tito's. Yeah. I think that's basically what we're saying. Is Mark Tauscher, former Packers Super Bowl champ, joins us here on the set at the Tundra Trio, just across from Lambeau Field. So, okay. Regular season started last night. Philadelphia wins. The Falcons continue to have their issues, not only in the red zone, but, Mark, also in play calling. We calculate the numbers a different way than just looking at attempts, run versus pass, because Matt Ryan dropped back 43 times, but he was sacked 4 times. So that's really 4 more pass attempts. He also scrambled on a run, so that's really 48 pass plays called, and that's only 17 designated run plays. As an offensive lineman, if that continues to be that way, at what point do you say to your offensive coordinator, dude, you're killing us?
I don't know if you say, dude, you're killing us, but there's definitely – I think there's a perception now because the league is so pass-happy and it's easier to throw the football that teams have went away from the running game. But the balance, and you said 48 to 7, 44 to 17, whatever
48
it is.
to 17,
at the end of the game,
more.
At the end of the game, you see their empty set the entire time. You know now, hey, we can bring it. We can do different blitzes. And Atlanta was, Matt Ryan was under pressure all night. They didn't do it. That doesn't do anything to help Matt Ryan.
Right.
And from the running game for an offensive lineman, Mike, as a defensive lineman, it's a lot easier when it's empty set. You're like, all right, I can pin my ears back and go. Where if you can do play action or if you can do some things to make your job easier on the offensive line, when you do it this way, it makes your job that much more difficult.
Here's what I don't understand. Along with those lines, and I remember, I believe it was Dallas when Tyron Smith was out and they had a new left tackle in, and he was just getting abused, and they never helped him. They never double with a tight end. They never chip with a back, and they said, well, this is kind of how
this is what we
do. And I'm watching last night, and I'm seeing these empty sets, the O-line getting no help at all. I sometimes wonder what's the thought process behind not giving your O-line help when they've been giving up pressure.
Well, I think the thought is if you go empty, you can get the ball out quicker.
That's a thought.
But when you do that at the end of the game and you have to get in the end zone, you don't have any timeouts left, it limits what you can do, and then you can get more exotic with your blitz packages because there's only so many things you can do protection-wise if you're empty. So it's always better. In Dallas, I think, when you're talking about Tyron Smith, the running game always is what makes them go. And when he's not playing and he's one of the elite players, you can't just throw somebody out there and say, all right, here you go. You have to make adjustments, and that's a great example of them not doing that.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, they gave Adrian Claiborne 6 sacks in that game, and I think he needed 10 for an extra bonus. He only got 2 more the rest of the year. It was insane. Okay, so look, as Herm Edwards says, any plan that can't be changed is a bad plan. So I don't want to hear that's what we do. At some point, if it's killing you, you have to change it. Speaking of things that sometimes can kill a team, dissension among the ranks. We have a really interesting situation as Mark Tauscher is here with us, former Packer Super Bowl champion, played on the offensive line all 11 years here in Green Bay, where Le'Veon Bell is not there, and clearly there was a an implication or an idea that the rest of the Steelers thought he was going to show up. And you have Ramon Foster and Marquise Pouncey basically saying, hey, man, he kind of screwed us here, and now we got to worry about this, and I'm making 1/7 of what you're making, and I'm doing the blocking for you. I've never heard such open talk about another player's contract from other guys in the locker room, especially from the offensive line, which is usually the silent stick-together type. What did you make of what we heard out of those offensive linemen talking about Le'Veon Bell's deal?
I was shocked because there's unwritten rules. Baseball has a bunch of them, but with
football,
football, you don't.
Way too many.
Probably. You don't talk about other people's money. It just doesn't make any sense. And now, I don't understand unless there is just Ramon Foster, he's in his 10th year. I get it. You don't know how many more years you have left. So you want to be able to really have the best season you can. Le'Veon Bell is going to do that. But when, he's not coming in, he also has to look at Pittsburgh is not giving me a long-term contract. What are they going to do? Are they going to use me up and spit me out at the end of the season? So to get into that, now what's going to happen if he does report? Yeah. And then if you have a missed block, it's going to be, it's not going to be Remember the Titans, but you just don't know how that's going to play out. The whole thing it's chaos.
Remember the Titans.
How quickly does this need to do those players that spoke up against him, does there need to be a conversation with Le'Veon now before he reports, or is this all they have to worry about the start of the season, and then when he reports, they'll worry about, getting everything back together?
I mean, my guess is because you're in game week prep, you're not worried about, you always hear players say, worry about the guys that are here, and then we'll deal with that. So my guess is when he reports, they're going to have a sit-down because there's going to be a lot of stress between both parties when you do that. And I don't know I know you mentioned last night Michael Strahan and Tiki Barber.
Yeah.
That's never been resolved.
No,
because
they
when
still
you start getting
they still are boys, yeah.
Yeah, when you get into people's money, that is when things get a little dicey.
Yeah, and I'd never heard it that blatant in that situation. Look, we'll see if that plays it out when he shows up. And then the question becomes, if Le'Veon Bell is really all in for his free agency year, how much is he even invested in 2018?
And I think that's the question. And, it's easy to say we're going to focus on this season, but when you're looking at a long-term contract, and especially at that position, at that age where he, has maybe 3-4 good years of prime time left to earn, it's a real balancing act. But once you report, you start playing, and it's all about football.
All right, former Packers offensive lineman, Super Bowl champ Mark Tauscher here with us on the set, rather.
Yeah,
in our mobile studio.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
All right, Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, live from the Tundra Trio here in Green Bay, just across the street from Lambeau Field. Glad you're with us. Former Packers Super Bowl champion, 11-year veteran on the offensive line, Mark Tauscher is here with us. So let's dive into what happened Sunday night. There's really no older or better rivalry in football than the Bears and the Packers. I mean, it goes back to the beginning of the NFL. Whenever you guys played the Bears, and obviously you played them twice a year, just what was the feeling like as opposed to any other week? Because you know what this rivalry represents to these fans.
Well, I think what's great is that the organization, my first season, Mike Sherman had Fuzzy Thurston come in and talk about the importance of the rivalry with the Bears, what it meant to him. And it was always on, right there for us to know what the history of it was and why it was important. And, Chicago, for the most part, has been a really good football team. Not as much with Favre and Rodgers. We've kind of gotten that number that you talked about, evening it back up. Yeah. But it's close geographically, but it is always a good physical game, and there's a lot of respect amongst the players.
Take us inside the huddle a little bit. and take us to being in the huddle with great quarterbacks like you've been in the huddle with, and just how different it is with those guys and the control they have.
Well, I think, and fortunately for me, I've only played with Aaron and Brett, and so I haven't.
But let's just again hold on.
That's unreal.
Let's just understand that. Who were the two quarterbacks you blocked for? I don't know. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers.
It's whatever. Amazing.
So you talk to other guys, and everybody. This is kind of the season of hope. All 32 teams, I think some are delusional, but think that they can win a Super Bowl. Yeah. But when you have the quarterback, and people ask about leadership, and the biggest thing is everybody in that locker room believes every game when you have Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers that you can beat anybody that you're playing against, and that's completely invaluable when you're talking about a leadership standpoint and getting guys to buy in.
Well, listen, everybody bought in there, and everybody's buying in on the hope that Aaron Rodgers brings with him being back and hopefully healthy this year. We know that the Saints look really good. We know that the Eagles won the Super Bowl last year, and their backup quarterback helped them to another win last night. We know that Minnesota thinks they're all in with the.
Yeah, what are you wearing purple and green? Have you gotten hit already with that?
No.
Some people
the love is real.
He calls it eggplant.
Dusty Rose. Dusty Rose. And we also know that the Rams are all in with the moves they made. So where do you think the Packers fit in what is going to be a very difficult NFC? I think there are 5 teams that really from the NFC think they have a chance to win it all.
Yeah, I'm sure Atlanta feels that way too. I think the key is getting home field. And Green Bay, you look at the schedule, home games, you always assume you're always thinking with Aaron Rodgers you should go 7-1, 8-0. And then if you split your road games, and there's a tough road schedule at New England and at the Los Angeles Rams will be tricky games, but I think everybody here believes that if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, this team can accomplish every goal that it sets. And now you have a new defensive coordinator that's brought a lot of juice, and there's a ton of energy. Mike Pettin, who has never had a defense that's below, not been in the top 10. You have new defensive backs. There is a sense of optimism that this defense is going to be much better than it was. And I think with Jimmy Graham and Devontae Adams and the offensive weapons, with Joe Philbin being back, the optimism here is Super Bowl or bust. There's no question. And if Aaron stays healthy, that's a definitely very achievable goal.
And playing the Chicago Bears, one of the new players, they got Khalil Mack. I heard Tony Dungy say last night his plan for Mack since he just got there would be 20 plays. Don't worry about the defense call. Just rush the passer. If you get 5 pressures or knockdowns, we're good. That would be the goal. So, first off, your thought about Khalil Mack from the Oakland side of giving him up and the Chicago side of getting him.
I don't understand from the Oakland side. You draft a player and you hope that you have to pay him. You hope he's that good that he's going to be. So from Oakland's perspective, no idea. But I know Green Bay was in the mix to try to get him. When you could get a player that's in his prime that is durable and has been that productive, Chicago, I think, is very excited. They thought that pass rush was needed. And when you have quarterbacks, Stafford, Rodgers, you have to be able to get after him. So that's probably their thought process. But for Chicago, I think it's going to be Mitch Trubisky. Is he going to take the next step? Because I don't think anyone is really knows what he's going to bring yet. And without that position being stable, you can have the greatest defense ever. You still need to score points.
So Mack, obviously, there to be a great pass rusher. In your years, who gave you the most trouble when you were pass blocking?
I think Michael Strahan was always somebody that you just knew he was going to figure things out, and you tried to figure things out with him. But it was I always felt really good playing over here because you're at home and you can get off on the snap count.
Yep.
It was playing up in Minnesota where they were pumping in noise and it was super loud, and those were the games that would always be the most challenging.
So you're saying they were pumping in noise?
I'm not saying, but I'm believing.
You're believing. That's a core tenet he's going to stick to more than anything else. I do love what Brian Pace, the Bears GM, has done. You mentioned making the trade, giving up a couple of ones. He might be the most wild GM in the NFL right now. Last year, he moved up a lot to get Trubisky. He's moving picks this year. I mean, he's not afraid. Now, there might be a time down the road where he'll be missing some of these picks that he's given up. But, boy, he's not afraid to deal those things and do whatever he needs to help his team.
No, he is. I think the guy out in Los Angeles, the Rams, he's pretty aggressive, too. But, yes, the thing with this, when you have, and you guys have talked about this a lot, the rookie quarterback and not paying him top dollar, you can be more aggressive paying other people. But you still have to get that position right. And I don't, Chicago's thinking they do, but nobody knows yet. So we'll have to wait and see.
Exactly.
If that happens, then all right, now you have that roster and you'll make some moves. You'll have a developed quarterback and you bring in some younger players.
I think this is a huge year for Trubisky because they got a little more weapons around him. They went and got some wide receivers. They got Trey Burton.
Well, they always talk about the biggest jump that rookie year to your second year and what they're trying to build around him. So, yeah, they're ready for his process to continue.
Yeah, and I think that front seven on defense will help him get a few more possessions as well. Tauscher, always good to see you, my friend. Mark Tauscher here with us at the Tundra Trio.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered right to the beach, the quad, or the dog park. Not at home? Not a problem. Find a Domino's hotspot near you and get 2 medium 2-topping pizzas delivered for $5.99 each. 2-item minimum. Handmade pan pizzas will be extra. Ask for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary. Restrictions apply. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's hotspots.
Well, as you know, I've been up in my style game and giving my closet a makeover thanks to Peter Millar. And it's been so easy since they're all about quality, value, and style. And speaking of easy, Peter Millar is easily the most comfortable clothing you'll ever wear. Peter Millar polo shirts offer so much comfort and style. They're so easy to take care of. Out of the dryer, and you don't have to put an iron on them. They are great for the golf course because they even have sun protection built into the shirt. Peter Millar sport shirts look like a button-down dress shirt but feel as comfortable as a t-shirt. And they don't need to be dry cleaned. They're machine wash and dry. They won't shrink, and you don't have to iron them. Peter Millar 5-pocket pants are lightweight, highly breathable, made from the highest quality Pima cotton, and have comfort stretch for ease of movement. They'll fit like your favorite jeans with the style to be worn anywhere. They have Peter Millar's exclusive wash and finish to enhance the softness. Peter Millar performance shorts are moisture-wicking, breathable, and quick-drying. They have a stretch waistband so they move with you. That makes them perfect for playing around a golf, taking care of chores around the house, really anything you'll be doing this weekend. You'll never have to worry about what to wear to any occasion. Peter Millar is the go-to clothing for vacation, work events, the golf course, and even working out. Put Peter Millar on in the morning and never look back. You'll always have the right look. Check him out on social media at Peter Millar and at Peter Millar Golf. Peter Millar is the most comfortable clothing I've ever worn. And right now you can head over to petermillar.com/wingo and check out some of my Peter Millar favorites. Be sure to use my link and you'll receive complimentary shipping and a free hat. That's Peter Millar, MILLAR.com/wingo. petermillar.com/wingo.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered right to the beach, the quad, or the dog park. Not at home? Not a problem. Find a Domino's hotspot near you and get 2 medium 2-topping pizzas delivered for $5.99 each. 2-item minimum. Handmade pan pizzas will be extra. Ask for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary. Restrictions apply. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's hotspots.
Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We are live from the Tundra Trio in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I said we are live from the Tundra Trio in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Thank you, people. Just across the street from Lambeau Field as we're getting ready for the full Sunday of the Week 1 of the NFL's regular season. Mike Golic, Trey Wingo here with you. We are off to a raucous start to our weekend.
Yeah, we really are. You couldn't find a better place to start our NFL road trips than here in Green Bay, right outside of Lambeau Field. I mean, this is football right here. These are our football fans that are behind us that have been here all morning. I mean, and to the credit of all the football cities out there, everybody getting ready for their first game outside of the one played last night, because the one thing about the NFL is there's hope for every team.
Right.
Even no matter how bad you were last year, as I said, we've seen 5-11 win the Super Bowl the next year. So there is that hope. Now, some of the hope will be dashed in the first few weeks.
By next week.
Of the season, but there is that hope. If you're not maybe going to go all the way or into the playoffs, that you're going to see a better product by your team on the field. We'll see.
And again, the reason we say that, and the one thing the NFL sells better than maybe any other league, is that hope. Since 1990, that's 28 seasons. You've had at least 4 teams make the playoffs that didn't make it the previous year, and 4 teams that made the playoffs the previous year that didn't go back. So that kind of turnover, and again, when you look at the number of teams that make the playoffs, that's a remarkable percentage of the playoff teams that are there and that aren't there. So that turnover is constant.
Right.
And that might be an interesting prop bet, which we'll get to in just a little bit.
Oh, yes, we will.
But before we do that, let's start this hour, as we always do, with What's Trending.
This is important.
And what's important to remember is that some things haven't changed from last year for both of the teams that kicked off the 2018 NFL season, the Falcons and the Eagles. It was deja vu all over again. It was a sloppy, mistake-filled game that featured 26 penalties, but once again it came down to the Eagles doing just enough with their backup quarterback Nick Foles to win, and the Falcons doing nowhere near enough in the red zone to try and win a game.
So you play that first game, and then what do you do going forward? If you're in the Eagles situation, at least you try and correct your mistakes off of being 1-0. And mistakes, really, when you look at it offensively, they only had 232 yards.
Right.
Nick Foles passed for in the 110s. It wasn't a great passing game. They were short passes. He didn't do well throwing down the field, but we didn't think he was going to throw much down the field. So the defense, I really think, kind of led the way here, having two big stops in the red zone against Atlanta. For Atlanta, the one thing you always try and do is you correct your mistakes, makes your weakness more your strength. Last year, red zone was a weakness. This year, same thing you start off. You're getting in the red zone, but your execution in the red zone isn't getting it done.
Right.
All you can do is keep practicing and work on your execution. The other side of it is philosophical. You have a new offensive coordinator last year in Steve Sarkisian. The run-to-pass ratio is a little off skew. That's something philosophically you can change, but it didn't. It was out of skew again last night. Way more passes than runs in a one-possession game, a game you had a couple of leads in that you didn't try and control it more with the running game, left your offensive lineman on an island because you were in third and longs and a lot of spread offenses, hence a lot of pressure and 4 sacks by that Philadelphia Eagle defense.
Yeah, and again, when you break down run plays versus pass plays, don't just look at how many pass attempts were there and how many running attempts were there, because sometimes running attempts are quarterbacks escaping pressure.
Right.
So that's really a pass play that's called, and it's not just about dropbacks that's not just about pass attempts, because a dropback is an attempt to pass as well. So you mentioned those 4 sacks. So if you add 4 sacks to the pass attempts, because those were pass plays that were called, and then the one run by Matt Ryan, which was really a pass play as well called, that was 48 called pass plays against 17 running plays in a game that was a one-possession game where you have 2 really good running backs.
It's surprising.
In Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman.
So
by the way, Freeman was averaging 6 yards a pop.
So that's something you can change, again, by play calling. The other, again, is just about better execution in one part of the field, which would be the red zone for Atlanta.
But give the Eagles all the credit in the world.
Absolutely.
They did just enough. Jay Ajayi, a pair of rushing touchdowns, and Nick Foles had another reception out of the backfield. It wasn't the Philly special. It was just plain Philly.
And I love breaking down plays. And those 2 Jay Ajayi touchdown runs, one was 1 yard and one was 11 yard, but still the play within the play.
Right.
The O-line and tight end, great blocking to where you're always going to ask your running back to beat one would-be tackler. That's kind of the way it works. And Jay Ajayi, in both those instances, beat or shook a tackle by the one defender that he needed to get into the end zone. So talk about poor execution on the one side for Atlanta in the red zone. Huge execution, a great execution in that rushing touchdowns for the Philadelphia Eagles.
And again, home cooking is really good for Philadelphia. Going back to last year, they are 8-1 at home, best record over that time frame in the NFL. We continue what's trending. With Tiger Woods got off to a hot start, shot a 29 on his first 9 holes yesterday, a course record tying 62 8 under par at Aronimink in the first round of the BMW Championships, the third of the 4th playoff tournaments in the FedEx Cup playoff race. He's on the course right now, and he's level par through his first 3. Yeah. He was tied for the lead with Rory McIlroy after round 1. He's now 3 strokes behind Xander Schauffele, who's doing everything he can, Mike, to convince Jim Furyk to make him the last captain's pick for the Ryder Cup team.
That is the storylines here is not obviously just this tournament, but there's 70 players here going down to 30 for the last FedEx Cup final tournament next week. It goes to the 30 players and who's going to win the $10 million. So everybody trying to be in that top 30 who was right on the cusp of that. Tiger was one of those 25 going into this. And the other is that last spot in the captain's pick of the Ryder Cup, and Xander Schauffele is trying to be that guy, as a lot of people feel Tony Finau, who I believe is 3 under right now, maybe the favorite for that last spot. But guys are scoring at a good pace here, except for Tiger. Tiger is even through 4. Schauffele is 4 under through 8. McIlroy is 1 under through 7. He's at 9 under. Justin Thomas is 3 under through 7. He's at 9 under. So a couple of guys have pulled ahead of Tiger Woods at this point.
And again, if you're looking at this from the other side, this is the top 70 players. The top 30 move on to the final FedEx Cup playoff event, which is the Tour Championship in Atlanta. Tiger came in at 25. He seems to be solidifying that spot right now in the top 30. But if you're comparing round to round from yesterday, he scored well on the back nine and went through a string on the front side after birding the first one where he had 5 straight pars. So he's basically doing on the front side essentially without the birdie on one that he did yesterday. But he has it almost every fairway and almost every green. So he's still being consistent, but right now the birdie putts just haven't started to fall. Meanwhile, as we finish up what's trending, this is important. To get that drop on time, Serena Williams back in the U.S. Open Finals for the first time since 2014, cruising past 19th-seeded Anastasia Sevastova, 6-3, 6-bagel. She'll now try for her 7th U.S. Open title, which would break a tie she has with Chris Everett, our own Chrissy, who does great work for us on ESPN, for the most by a woman in the Open era.
You know, you look at both these opponents here. First, Williams at 36 years old, 348 days. Third oldest woman in the Open era to reach a major final. The only older 37-year-old Martina Navratilova, 94 Wimbledon, and 37-year-old Venus Williams in the 2017, last year's Wimbledon. So trailing her sister in that one. And for Naomi Osaka, she's 20 years old, the youngest woman in U.S. Open final since 19-year-old Caroline Wozniacki did it in 2009. This is the second biggest age gap between these two. The top was Monica Seles in the 1991 U.S. Open, 17 years younger than Martina Navratilova in that one. And just to put this in perspective, Williams' first Grand Slam appearance was in January 19th, 1998 in the Australian Open. 3 months prior to that, Osaka was born. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
And here's the other thing. Look, she straight-setted Sloane Stephens to get there. Madison Keys. And Madison Keys has now gone to the U.S. Open. The U.S. women's player has gone to the semifinals 2 straight years. But after the match, she said, honestly, I was kind of hoping that I'd get to play Serena. And she was asked why, and she said, because it's Serena.
You got to love the honesty of wanting to play the best, and it's also someone she idolized while she was growing up, which makes, I'm sure, Serena feel older than she really is. But sometimes you got to be careful what you wish for,
because you may get it. And she's getting full Serena this U.S. Open final. So I wonder what the odds and the wagers would be on Serena versus Naomi Osaka because of the age and experience difference. We could ask our next guest that, but I think we're going to stick to other things because it is a brand new era in this country where we have legalized gambling in certain states, and obviously the thing that's always sort of driven the show in Las Vegas or Atlantic City or other places where you can bet would be the NFL and the sports books on the games there, and our own Darren Ravel thinking that it could be an industry worth several $1 billion to the NFL. So there is big money to be spent and big money to be made. And with that in mind, we're delighted to be joined by Brian Edwards on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, the senior handicapper at VegasInsider.com. Get triple action protection for optimal engine performance with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Brian, thanks for being with us, and I think a lot of people would like to get optimum protection and performance from their bets. As we're beginning to get this whole brave new world with legalized sports gambling on sports in certain states, how much money do you think will be generated by the NFL alone?
Oh, gosh, north of several billion. It's going to be huge. And good morning, gentlemen. Thanks a lot for having me. The Supreme Court ruling was long overdue, and thank goodness. It's nothing but good news, and I would say in the next 5 years, perhaps half of the states in the U.S. will have legalized sports gambling.
And as far as teams, we've seen the Cowboys already partner up with a casino. Would you expect each team to individually be partnering up with casinos and getting some deals done?
Absolutely. That'll happen fast. And there are so many moneymakers out there for all the pro teams, and it's gonna be huge, and it's all gonna be good. And there are no negatives in this. There will be full transparency and regulation, like it is in Nevada. Every point fixing scandal that has ever happened, the FBI was tipped off because the Gaming Control Board in Nevada was on top of it, and it's nothing but good stuff.
Brian, one of the things Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, said is when this happened and it's going to be legalized state after state, was that he wanted the teams to get or the league to get 1% basically of the action for all the info that they were going to get. And while it's legalized, while that never happened in Nevada where gambling has been legal, do you see something like that happen, or do you just see individual teams working out deals?
Yeah, I think that was a little aggressive of Adam Silver. Now, I love how he's been out in front of this. I mean, he was talking about this 4 or 5 years ago, and so I love how he's been out in front of it. But the 1%, I think that's a little much.
Well, listen, you always shoot for the moon, and hopefully you get half of it, and that would still be a lot of money. Brian Edwards, Senior Handicapper at VegasInsider.com with us. Look, we'll get into specific bets that you like for the NFL weekend in just a minute, but I want to go back to a point you just made because I think it's really important for people to understand this. People are saying, well, we need to make sure the game, with the integrity of the game, is protected against these gaming schemes or gambling plots and these things to fix games and matches. And what you said is absolutely right. There was a huge match-fixing scandal in tennis a couple of years ago, and the only way it was tipped off is because people that were taking legal bets all across Europe and other parts of the world kept seeing at these lower tennis tournaments guys that should be massively favored. They were being heavy money was being put on them to lose matches to much lower-rated opponents, and that's how everything was discovered.
Yes, and the Arizona State basketball point-fixing scandal, which was about 20 years ago, they were playing, like, I want to say Washington State, and they were, the spread was 8 or 9. Well, during the course of the day, so many students from ASU that were, knew about this fix had come to Vegas and were making so many bets around town, the line got moved up to about 15. But the Gaming Control Board tipped off the FBI, and by halftime of that game, the feds were in ASU's locker room asking questions. So that's why these things, that's why people get busted, exactly how you pointed out with the tennis thing.
Talking to Brian Edwards, Senior Handicapper at VegasInsider.com, also hosts the Game Galore's podcast as well. Looking at the NFL, before we get into some of the actual games, what's been the biggest money on which teams to win the Super Bowl, and what in your mind would be the best bet to get you the most money because of the odds to take a chance on the team in the Super Bowl?
Well, the Westgate Super Bowl, the Rams have gotten the most action, followed by the Packers, then the Vikings, then the 49ers, and the Browns, with their long odds, are the most liability for them at the Westgate. In fact, if the Browns were to win the Super Bowl, they would have 5 times as much liability than any other team. Looking at the odds, in terms of, I don't like to, 10 to 1, 12 to 1 doesn't really do it for me. I'm not saying the Niners are going to win it, but I think that 30 to 1 with Garoppolo, the way what they were 1 in 10, he took a 1 in 10 team and then he went 5-0 with them. That gives me, I think he's the real deal, and I think the Niners could have a big season. Look, when you have 30 to 1 odds, they don't have to win the Super Bowl for you to profit. They get into the playoffs, you're going to have some hedge opportunities. And so I would say the Niners at 30 to 1 looks pretty attractive.
Okay, so that's the overall for the season as we're talking to Brian Edwards, Senior Handicapper at VegasInsider.com and the host of the Games Galore podcast. Let's look at specific matchups you like this week. You like the Ravens -7 against the Bills. Why are you in on Baltimore there?
Well, it's just fading Nathan Peterman. What are the Bills doing? They go to the playoffs for the first time in 17 or 18 years. And now they're going into a season with Peterman as their starter. He got a surprising start at San Diego last year when they benched Tyrod Taylor briefly, and I jumped all over the Chargers in that game. I love going against quarterbacks making their first career start on the road, and he threw 5 picks in the first half, and that was an easy win. Now the line has gone up to 7.5, so I recommend buying the half point to the key number of 7. But and it's not that I'm super high on Baltimore this year. I mean, I think they're going to be pretty good. I've got them going 8-8. But just going against a bad quarterback, I like to do that, especially on the road. So I'll go the Ravens and make sure to buy that half point to the key number of 7.
I always like a team to talk about a team that's going to New England because New England's been so good. The Texans are getting 7 points going to New England. Deshaun Watson last year went to Foxborough and in a loss put up 33.
Almost won the game.
Yeah, he did. So what do you think of that line?
Well, you're not going to make a good living going against Brady and Belichick. I do lean to the Texans here. I'm just being patient and watching the number, hoping some more money is going to come in on New England. I want the number to get up to 7 before I would take the Texans. They're definitely my lean, but I'm just going to watch the numbers, see what happens between now and kickoff. Because, look, I'm always hesitant to fade the Pats with Belichick and Brady, but if I can get 7, I'll take it. So we'll see what happens with the line.
All right, we're talking with Brian Edwards, senior handicapper at VegasInsider.com. Now, all the many bets you can do, you can bet on anything, obviously. But I'm curious on this one. You said you'd never make a living betting against Brady and Belichick, but you're betting pretty heavily on another member of that team. You like Sony Michel, the running back out of Georgia, to be the offensive rookie of the year. Why are you so high on him?
Well, the 30-1 odds certainly help. But look, Sony Michel, he had to split carries with Nick Chubb throughout his collegiate career. I think he's going to get more touches in this offense. I think he is just the perfect guy. Offenses are obviously going to be keying on Brady in the passing game. He can go to the house on any given touch. I think he's going to have a huge season, and 30-1 odds are very, very attractive. As long as he stays healthy, I think he'll get 15 to 20 touches a game, catching the ball in the backfield as well. And he's gonna bust a lot of long ones. And I like Sony Michel at 30-1 odds to be Rookie of the Year offensively.
I do like what he does, no doubt about it. Had the knee drained in preseason, so we'll see how that goes. Speaking of Sony Michel and his former team, Georgia, let's go to college for a second because I hope our buddy Darius Rucker is up listening to this one. One of your best bets in college this week, South Carolina is plus 10 against Georgia, but forgetting the number, you really like South Carolina in this game.
Yeah, I've been calling this my upset of the year since early in the summer. They gave Georgia all they wanted between the hedges last year, and that was without their star, Deebo Samuel, and their best linebacker, Bryson Allen Williams. Deebo Samuel scored 5 touchdowns in the first 2 games last year, and then the first play from scrimmage in week 3 against Kentucky, he took a quick slant, took it to the house, so he had 6 touchdowns in 2 games in 1 play. He broke his leg later that game, was out for the season. Bryson Allen Williams also got hurt in that game. Both those guys are healthy now. Jake Bentley, he'll be making his 22nd career start this week. He enrolled early when he was a true freshman, and he took over that 2-4 team and went 4-3 down the stretch. He should have been a senior in high school, so age-wise, he should only be a true sophomore now. But he's a grizzled veteran. I think he is ready to have a breakout season. South Carolina's 54-16 straight up over the last decade at Williams-Brice. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. Doesn't hurt our cause that Natrez Patrick, one of Georgia's best linebackers, is questionable, and their best receiver, Terry Godwin, is also questionable. But that's just a little extra. I've had my eye on South Carolina to win this game outright all summer. You can get them on the money line plus 300, but I certainly recommend you take them plus the points for a much bigger amount, say 3 or 4 units on South Carolina plus the 10, 1.5 units on the money line.
Well, obviously Darius is happy, even if he didn't hear that. All right, real quickly, because we're out of time here, what's the strangest prop bet you've taken or heard of about the NFL season so far?
Oh, strangest. It's not really strange, but I'll tell you my favorite future bet is the Texans plus 200 to win the AFC South. If the number doesn't get to 7 with New England, I may not play them this week, but I'm playing them for the season. I think Bortles will come back to earth and have not a good year for the Jags. I think the Texans will win the AFC South.
Wow. All right, that's an interesting one with Deshaun Watson coming back. All right, Brian Edwards, senior handicapper at VegasInsider.com. Thanks for giving us the inside scoop.
Thanks, Brian.
Gentlemen, thanks for having me.
No worries. Wow. All right, coming up, we're at the Tundra Trio here in Green Bay, and our next guest might just show up wearing a gold jacket,
Wow.
Mike. We will get to that after this.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS ConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered right to the beach, the quad, or the dog park. Not at home? Not a problem. Find a Domino's hotspot near you and get 2 medium 2-topping pizzas delivered for $5.99 each. 2-item minimum. Handmade pan pizzas will be extra asked for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary. Restrictions apply. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's hotspots.
Oh, that one's going to live with us for a while. Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, live from the Tundra Trio here in Green Bay. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. But, Mike, we're here at Lambeau Field, just outside it here at the Tundra Trio. And what better way to welcome in all the fans here than bring in a Packer Hall of Famer. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our delight to welcome in, finally, Hall of Famer Jerry Kramer of the Green Bay Packers. Jerry, it is great to have you here. I'm very fortunate. I go to the Hall of Fame every year to do the ceremonies for ESPN, and I have waited for the moment to hear your name called for so long. I mean, the resume was there, all-decade team of the 60s, everything that went on. And what was it like finally when you got the knock on the door from David Baker and said your long overdue enshrinement is now here?
Well, it was much greater and much bigger than I anticipated. I had kind of marginalized it in my mind to get along with myself.
Sure.
And be comfortable with not being there. And so I assumed that, I might have missed a lunch with Bart and Paul or Jimmy, and I might have missed a couple things, little things like that. But we were there for like 6 or 7 days, and my whole family was there, all of my children and nieces and brothers and sisters and nephews and on and on and on. And so many of the guys that were formerly presented to the Hall of Fame were back, like 50 or 60 of them, and I knew a lot of them. And they came up and were very gracious, and Jerry, it should have been a long time ago, and all kinds of nice things. So it turned out to be a warm and fuzzy, and all the little aggravations and irritations and frustrations went away, and I'm giggling like a 9-year-old girl.
As you should.
One of the induction ceremony is fantastic, but that Friday night when you get the gold jacket, and the one thing I notice is obviously the greatest of all time are in that room, but still even there are levels. And the respect that you got from the other Hall of Famers, to me, if you could talk about that night when you're walking through the gauntlet of the guys with the gold jacket to get to yours, I was just, it brought chills to me to see how you were received by these great players.
Mike, that was a highlight. That was a real highlight. It started off with Bob Lilly and Namath and guys that I'd known for a while, and I got to 3 guards. John Hanna from New England,
right? Yes.
Yeah. Joe DeLamiere from Buffalo, and Tom Mack from L.A. And they surrounded me. And Jerry, you should have been here long ago. And Jerry, we used you as a model. Our coach said, just watch you. And a lot of wonderful comments like that. And they're crying, and I'm crying, and we're blubbering and holding up the line. But it was just a wonderful moment for me, maybe a highlight of the whole experience, to have my peer group welcome me and say I should have been there a while ago.
It's very cool.
That's awesome. As Hall of Famer and Packer legend Jerry Kramer is here with us. And one of the things that we always look forward to in Canton is the speeches. And what I loved most about your speech is you were letting an entire generation of football fans know perhaps what these fans know here, but what they didn't know is the genius of Vince Lombardi.
Yeah, he was a very special human being, a very bright man, very educated man, and Greek classics were the love of his life. And Aristotle's philosophies and principles and beliefs were Coach Lombardi's philosophies and principles and belief. And they were such fundamental things that you don't think about early on, but preparation, commitment, consistency, discipline, pride, character, tenacity, belief in your team. Those things are so fundamental, and yet they are such a important building blocks for an organization or for an individual to succeed and do what he needs to do in the world. So it was something that I learned from Coach Lombardi, and it made a huge difference in my life. And so I have kind of decided it was my duty to explain Coach Lombardi and explain his philosophies and his beliefs. So I took it upon myself to understand that a little bit better and read a little bit more and studied a little bit more and came to the conclusion that he was right about virtually everything he had to say.
I think what also has been great about you getting into the Hall of Fame, way overdue, as we all know, was the fact that on your resume it says 2-time Super Bowl champion, but you're a 5-time. Right. I mean, to let everybody know, there was actual championship games before the Super Bowl. I think that kind of opened some people's eyes. Say, oh yeah. I mean, there was ball back then, and real good ball back then. But I think it is a great way to let people know of just the greatness, not only of you, but the Green Bay Packer team in those times.
Yeah, that was a very special time. Of course, we didn't have the salary cap, and we didn't have the billion-dollar quarterbacks. And everybody was happy, and we were having a wonderful time. It was a wonderful ride with 5 titles in a 7-year period.
That's insane.
Thought it would never end, of course, but we had a wonderful group of guys and a wonderful feeling on the team. I was talking to some of the guys at Canton about prejudice. And I said, it'd be really interesting for us to say something about prejudice, and maybe we could help the world a little bit down the road. And I said, on our team, we were judged by our contribution to the club, by how valuable we were to the team. I don't care if you're short, fat, tall, ugly, beautiful, skinny, whatever. If you're a teammate and you make a contribution, you're my guy.
Right.
Come on in. You're part of the group. And wouldn't it be better if the world would judge maybe on some of those same principles?
Absolutely.
Instead of...
Absolutely.
Well, it was interesting. I think a teammate of yours and a very good friend of mine, Bill Curry, talked about the same thing about the huddle. It didn't matter, what ethnicity or anything about you. Is just you all came together, and if the kind of the country or the world could be like that huddle and how you treated one another, that we'd all would be in a better spot.
I think so. I don't think there's any question about it. And it makes sense. I love Red Fox's humor, and Red was telling a story about prejudice one day, and he said, everybody's prejudiced. There's prejudice against little guys, there's prejudice against big guys, the fat guys, skinny guys, beautiful women, ugly women. There's prejudice all over. He said, I hate midgets. I hate midgets. Yeah. I just hate midgets. And I hate okra. If I ever catch a midget eating okra, I'm going to put my foot in his backside.
And so, Jerry Kramer joining us. You're 82 years old. I mean, you look great. You feel great. You've been keeping it all together. You look fantastic.
Thank you, Mike. I do feel good. I have some back issues that I've been working on. I've got some stem cell injections I'm going through, and they're making a slow difference, but it's getting better. And I do feel good. I basically, fundamentally feel like I want to go and I want to do, and I'm comfortable traveling. I struggle a little bit in and out of the airports and whatnot, but I'm still running and gunning and enjoying it.
Well, you certainly are, and we're enjoying having you here as Hall of Famer Jerry Kramer is with us. Obviously, Vince Lombardi had a huge impact on your life. Vince passed away way too soon from colon cancer, and I know that's something you want to make sure people are aware of.
Yeah, there's a solution to colon cancer now, and it's early detection. prevention. There's a company called Cologuard that allows you to take a sample of your stool and do it in the privacy of your home and mail it in to the doc and find out if you're going to die young or if you're going to live to a ripe old age. And it's just so simple and so wonderful to have a tool like that to save your life and change your life. If Coach Lombardi had that and had been comfortable with that, then he would have lived to be 70, 80, 90 years old. Yeah. So the Lombardi Cancer Society is an organization down in Milwaukee that I work with a lot, and they're behind this, and virtually everybody's behind it that's got any sense. So it's a wonderful product, and you should look into it.
Early detection certainly the key. No doubt
it
about
really
that.
is. And the sad thing is you go back and watch the last few years of Vince's coaching career on NFL films, and you can see he's dealing with all that. He thought it was just stomach pain because they didn't have what was available to him back then.
I went in to see him in Washington in the hospital a week before he passed, and he had his fists clenched and his eyes closed, and he was fighting it. He believed that the burn, the hunger, the drive could make a difference. And I came over and touched him on the arm, and I said, Coach, I know where you are. I know you're fighting it. I just needed to stop and tell you what a difference you made in my life and how much I love you. And I just wanted to stop by and see you. And I got to go. I'm not going to stay. So I started for the door, and a nurse comes in. And he looks up, and he goes, Jerry, come back a minute. I went back by his bedside, and he said, show her your stomach. So I pulled up my shirt, and I've got all kinds of scars and operations and things in my stomach, right? And he said, see there, he made it. Yeah. So he was telling the nurse that he could win. He could use his mind to overcome his adversity.
Fight to the end. To the bitter end. Wow. Well, listen, it's clear that he had such an impact on your life, and it's clear that you've had an impact on all the lives of these Packer fans all over the years. Jerry, really great to see you.
My pleasure.
The first of all the great guards out of Guard U, University of Idaho, along with our old buddy Mark Schlereth and Mike Iupati. It all started with this guy, Jerry Kramer. Thanks for being here, and congratulations on the long overdue induction into the Hall of Fame.
Hey, Golic, if I were to throw the lines open right now to discuss who's the GOAT, we'd have no shortage of opinions, correct?
No, we would not.
But if I asked men to talk about their health?
Crickets.
Yeah, a recent Cleveland Clinic survey found 56% of men prefer to keep health concerns to themselves and not share them with anyone, not even their doctor. Cleveland Clinic is ranked #1 in the nation in heart and urology care, and they've heard it all before.
Make sure to visit clevelandclinic.org/mention it for answers to those 10 questions most men are afraid to ask.
Golic and Wingo on the road.
It is a football town. It is football weather, and we have football to talk about. What's better than that? Sports Center brought to you by eBay. eBay has everything you need to do football season your way. We have Yeti coolers, crock pots, all the gear you need to rep your ride or die team. Visit eBay, feel like you scored a touchdown without ever picking up a ball. Game day. It's happening on eBay.
All right, Golic and Wingo live from the Tundra Trio here in Green Bay. We have people behind us, Mike, that came from St. Petersburg, Florida, that came from Schenectady, New York, all to be a part of the show, so we're happy about that. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. But now that we have, well, first of all, we get into that. How great was it to have Jerry Kramer here in the segment?
I'll tell you, and as I said, I've seen a few people that from the league, some of the greatest ever, in just the difference how they're treated amongst their peers.
Correct.
One of those guys has been a guy like Anthony Munoz.
Yes, absolutely.
Who is just so respected by the greatest of this game. There are different rooms even in the Hall of Fame, but to which he's respected. But Jerry Kramer, I mean, for how long it took him to get in the Hall of Fame, and the players recognize who should be in there. Everybody knows he should have been in there, and he is in there, and he's grateful for it. So I don't want to get into that, how long it took. He's in the Hall of Fame where he needs to be. But that Friday night, that gauntlet of the greatest of all time, and how they were respecting him. I was watching it on TV, really getting chills going, wow. I mean, that is the coolest thing when peers respect respect each other and what they do to that level and that reverence. That was really incredible.
That Friday night at Canton may be my favorite night or the entire weekend in Canton, Ohio, when they get those gold jackets for the first time.
And
really cool.
He and I have been working together. He talked about the stem cell. Yep. I've gotten it, a Premier stem cell. It's been great for both of us. And he says it's helping him because he looks great for 82.
Looks fantastic.
I mean, he really, really does. It's just a ball to have him on.
Absolutely. So that was a real thrill. So now it's time to spin ahead to Sunday. And Forward Thinking is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. All right, so we all have games that I think we're really interested in on week one. I'll start this off. The one that I'm really intrigued at, besides obviously the Packers and the Bears.
Sure.
I'm really curious for the Seahawks in Denver because I don't know what Seattle's going to be. They don't have a Legion of Boom anymore. They have a Boom in in Earl Thomas. That's it. And listen, if Case Keenum is good, this Broncos offense is really interesting this year. Royce Freeman is going to start, the rookie out of Oregon at running back. They have two talented veteran wide receivers. They also have two young wide receivers they love, Cortland Sutton and Deshaun Hamilton. And let's not forget Jake Butt, who missed all of last year as a rookie because of the torn ACL. He comes in at tight end. This Denver offense could be really interesting.
There's two teams I'm looking at, and they're playing one another. It's Kansas City at the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah.
A lot of people loving the Chargers this year, but, man, the injuries that they had before the season has even started to where Antonio Gates is now back on the team. It could start for them. So I'm interested in where they're going to go with some of the injuries because there's a lot of people think they could be right up there. And then Kansas City, of where they were last year to take that next step. But, they jettisoned their quarterback in Alex Smith and put it all on Patrick Mahomes. And I know they love him there. I know Andy loves him there. But I'm still in the, hey, I got to wait and see mode. Yes. He hasn't done anything at this level just yet, so we're going to have to wait and see.
I completely agree. Louis Riddick is all in on the table already.
I know he
is.
On
Patrick Mahomes.
And it may work. We'll see.
You know he's got the arm. The question is, can he adapt to how fast the defenses come at you? Because preseason is one thing, but they're going to be game planning for Patrick Mahomes now. And he did win last year in Denver, the first drafted quarterback Kansas City to win since Todd Blackledge in 1983. But that's all going Sunday, and it ends with the Packers hosting the Bears. Thanks for being with us. Have a great football weekend, everybody.
Remember when you couldn't order a ride at the press of a button? Or get online without hearing this? Or get Domino's delivered to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations? Wait, what? Introducing Domino's Hotspots. You can finally get pizza delivered right to the